6 months ago, we were hit with Hurricane Helene. Shortly after that, I believe it was 10 to 13 days, we were then hit with Hurricane Milton. Gosh, the memory's there, right?
Right. No.
So today we decided to see where we're at 6 months after that date. And we're meeting up with two very good friends.
Yep, Tammy and Brian.
Tammy and Brian, who happen to live in Madeira Beach, Florida, and their story, I hope you follow it for months to come because it's pretty remarkable. It's a story of resilience, right?
It is. Their home was completely flooded and they had over 4 feet of water.
No, 26 inches.
Oh, 26 inches.
26 inches, that which is some of our customers do. Had 4 feet of water. But we're standing in front of the RV because this is where they're living right now, like many others that are on the island. I'm Tina Herrel.
Carolyn Gomez.
And we were with Remax Metro and the Herrel Group. Cheers, hon.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We are sitting here with Tammy and Brian. Welcome. So excited to be on this journey with you guys. So let's take it from there.
So Tammy and Brian have sold and bought 4 properties with me, and this particular property on Madeira Beach, do you guys remember when we first went in and looked at this property? And it was during the pandemic, and you had lost so many different waterfront properties that Brian started to, forgive me Brian, pout a little bit. and they saw this and said, this is the one. And so they bought the house and then did what with it?
Completely gutted it and remodeled it.
Yeah, I mean, we literally took the house down to the studs. We took walls out, we reconfigured walls, we took all the flooring out, we actually busted the foundation to redo some of the plumbing. Basically, the only thing we didn't replace was the kitchen cabinets, and they got painted. So
you put a new pool
we
in.
Added a pool.
That's right.
That wasn't there before. So yeah, it was
Pavers.
pretty much everything was brand new that could be brand new.
Yeah.
And we just completed that renovation. You just completed it, and then what happened?
The hurricane.
Helene is now the second deadliest hurricane to hit the United States in the past 20 years.
Storm with wind speeds up to 140 miles an hour at their peak.
Tammy can explain why this looks like a kid's bedroom, the whole house.
Well, my daughter turned 13 the beginning of March, and she wanted to have a party and thought we would just take advantage of the house one last time before we tear it down. And she had been asking about a camp out, and I said, why don't we just have a camp out in the house? So we've got this beautiful tent set up here.
Making the best out of it, right?
Actually, the weekend before, we got out the neon paints and painted the walls.
I remember it well because we were kind of lured into a false sense of security. Like, we know a lot of people that live on this island, and they've lived here for years, and they've said, hey, we've never flooded. You know, your house has never flooded. It was built in 1960. So you kind of get a false sense of security and confidence that you're going to be okay, right, no matter what. Despite what we saw on the news and the evacuation orders and things like that, we've stayed before, and this time was different.
This time was different. I think most Floridians, when we hear hurricane, the first thing we do is stock the bar, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're gonna have a hurricane party.
And get the snacks, and we ride it out. But that wasn't the case this time.
I remember, as we've done on multiple storms that have already come through since we lived here, going and getting the sandbags and asking neighbors, driving around the neighborhood, looking to see how others are preparing, what are we going to do to prepare. And I think we did, about 80 sandbags, put them along the doors, put the visqueen up, and we're like, oh, we'll be fine.
And all the while, like I said, we were kind of overconfident that are we really necessary to do this? Because, you know, all the other ones have been less than predicted.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now, so.
Yeah.
Right. Do you want to share how much water you got?
We got about 26 to 28 inches.
Yeah, we had 26 inches of water, so it was somewhere in this range through the whole house. And so if you know anything about drywall, it comes in 4x8 sheets. So you don't want to take off 28 inches and now you got to cut every sheet of drywall to replace it. So we did this initially thinking we were going to put the house back like it was. So we went up 4 feet all the way through the whole house, and this is really to keep mold from growing.
And
you
in
cannot-
some areas, there's more
Yeah.
taken up because the drywall actually, it just depends on how much water is soaked up in the drywall.
And the reason you see the visqueen here is because we're trying to create a little bit of privacy for the party that we had in here. So
It was crazy, and we started removing drywall right away, but it was crazy the amount of mold, how quickly it started growing. It was all over the studs, and so we did remediate it.
But I think what surprised me the most was the actual flooding started about 6 p.m. on the night of the flood, and of course we left the house by 7:30 or 8. We went to our neighbors, and we came back the next morning when the sun came up, and everything had already receded. Like, so the water had already come in and gone, and we were left with an unbelievable mess in the house, and just you don't know what to do.
Just a lot of muck.
So
and,
where did you start? How did you start?
oh,
Well, I think we stood around and asked, like, how the hell do we start? Like,
where do we start? We just started
Cleaning.
pulling stuff out, cleaning, because
trying
there
to
was
save what you can.
there
Save
was
what you
so
can.
much stuff like muck
Yeah.
on the floors, and
Another interesting thing for this area, we're on an island, so because of that, we were not allowed to leave the island for 3 days after the flood. So
Right.
we had to stay in this house. We didn't have any power. Everything was wet, including the box spring on the bed, and we just had one mattress that was dry enough to sleep on top of, and we did that for 3 nights. It was 90 degrees, so we're still in the summertime.
Right.
It was almost surreal at that point.
I think the biggest thing too that Carolyn and I have seen is, and this is where I cry because I too lived on the water and have gone through this too, and is the resilience of people. How resilient people really are and can be when they have to be and when they want to be.
Yeah,
well, and we did have the you can leave, but you couldn't come back, and
Right.
So many people
choice.
wanted to leave and go get cleaning supplies, and we were very grateful we had supplies boated out to us.
Nice,
So that
yeah.
we could start cleaning a generator.
So you're talking about your friends. There's a very good friend that said you can use this, right? You can rent this.
So we're going to take you inside where we've been living since November the 7th when we picked up this RV from some friends that live in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. So it's been very good for us. We're making it work, but it's certainly not where we want to be, so it kind of motivates us to get this done faster. So come on in. And so this is it's a 40-foot long motor coach. It has 3 slides. It has a bedroom and a full bath in the back, and there's a half bath and a washer and dryer as well. This couch makes a bed. The dining table makes another bed. There's an overhead bed above you right here that comes down. So it could actually sleep 6 or 8 people if you wanted to, but when it becomes your house, it's you don't want 6 or 8 people in here. And the biggest challenge is keeping it either warm enough or cool enough. There's like no insulation in this thing. So it actually has an electric fireplace that we use for heat most of the time.
And such a small space to have 4 TVs. There's a TV that
this
comes
actually
up out of
comes
right
out.
there,
really?
and then TV there, TV in the bedroom, and a TV outside.
A trip inside of this, it's beautiful. Do I want to be there for 6 months? Maybe not, but it is gorgeous. How many did you say you saw in the 3-street radius here, the neighborhood?
Yeah, so one of the things I like to do now to kill time and get out of this camper is kind of ride my bike around the island and see what's going on. And I think it was a month or so ago, I counted 32 of similar situations as ours, where people are living on their property in some type of RV or camper.
And
So-
that's you're grateful for that, right? Because like
Absolutely.
Tammy says, you want to be here during the process.
The one thing I'd like to make sure everybody understands is this was Hurricane Helene that flooded our house, and everyone in this island was flooded, so we're not unique in this. And everyone had to begin tearing out so they wouldn't have mold. So all the damaged furniture, all the drywall, everything in the house that had to come out was along these streets. No,
You
this was
should
unusual.
have seen this street though during the storms when we were looking out. One of our neighbors actually got his boat out and drove the boat down the street to go rescue another neighbor.
So let's talk about that when this
That's amazing.
helicopter goes by.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait for this Blackhawk to get out of the way because we can't hear anything. No one had enough time to do anything with that debris before Milton came.
Right.
So
Right.
in between, we only had 13 days between the 2 storms. So we were expecting all of that debris to be somewhere in our yard or in our house or
Yeah.
who knows
Yeah.
where in the canals. And we
Well-
were fortunate that it went south, and we actually didn't get the worst of that.
We had a bunch of things still in the garage. So we had already had one moving truck that we took all of our stuff that we could save. The closest storage unit that we could get was in South Tampa.
Wow.
So we had to take that out over to South Tampa.
I think your things
And-
are still there, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then
They're in 4 places.
yeah, and then our garage. When the next storm was coming through, we're like, we got to get all this stuff out of the garage because we have all these walls open, all the plumbing exposed, and we can't have all this stuff banging up against it. So we had to rent another U-Haul and get all of our stuff moved out and over to a friend's house over in Seminole that was very grateful to give us their garage. And
Thank God, yeah.
yeah,
Your friends really did step up.
they really did.
Okay, so we've talked about what it was like before the house, during. Now we're at the after stage. So people have choices. Some are rebuilding, some are tearing down, some are building up, some are raising. What are you both doing now?
Well, we decided we absolutely love this house, and initial plans were to put it back together, but we've decided that we don't ever want to have to go through this again, as far as having to clean all of our stuff out and lose everything. So we've decided to completely tear it down and build up.
And build up.
And there's a lot of people that are raising, and we looked at that option as well, but it was a house that was built in 1960, so we didn't want to take and put a 1960 house elevated.
Right.
We wanted to
Yeah.
completely start new, look at different materials to build with, something more sustainable and resilient to future storms.
Tammy, show us what you plan on doing. And I'm saying you because this is actually your company. So you want to share how you're going to be building this house?
So the company is GCS. My father and one of his business partners started it. It was kind of crazy because all the way up until June, I had worked in medical sales for the last 20 years. I left medical sales, joined the construction company, and so
2
it
months
just,
before the flood.
yeah, so 2 months before the flood.
Wow.
It just, God's plan
That's right.
to have a product that that I sell, and we're going to be using it to rebuild. So they look like big styrofoam Lego blocks. This is Fox Blocks ICF, insulated concrete forms. It's EPS foam, and the advantages of using ICF is you get a solid concrete pour. They come in, they put the rebar in, and we are a distributor of fiberglass rebar. So fiberglass rebar is non-corrosive, and it's 3 times stronger than regular rebar. So we're gonna use that in here. Each side acts as is a R24 value, so once it's poured, you get an R48 value
For layman's terms,
for
what does that mean?
insulation value.
Insulation value.
So you're going to actually reduce your electric by about 60%.
No kidding. I do have one question for both of you. And again, I'm getting teary-eyed, right? Because you and I, even just driving through here. How can you not be bitter or exhausted? Because looking at both of you, first of all, I've known you for a long time, and I love both of you a great deal. But I don't know if I have the wherewithal like you all do. So how can you not be bitter? What makes this? Why do you want to stay?
Okay.
I mean, you have your moments for sure. I mean, we shed a lot of tears. We went through a lot of soul searching and decision making. Like, what are we going to do? As far as, but we never once thought about like, let's sell it and move off this island, because it's our lifestyle. I mean, we love being on the water. We love boating. Everybody in this community is like that. So we have a lot of common connections with people. And so we call it paradise all the time. We're like, we live in paradise. We live where people vacation. So this is kind of why we moved here. I mean, this is the view, right? This is the canal. We have our boat right here, the dock. So this is what we call paradise. This house did not have a pool when we bought it. So we basically redid this entire backyard, and that was done about 2 years ago right now. So we had it about 1.5 years before the flood came. The flood did, of course, go into the pool. It ruined our pool pump. We had to replace it. We had to clean the pool out and get it back to working. But as you can see, at least we're living here and still taking advantage of having the pool and the boat.
We're in a very fortunate position that we're able to tear down and build up, because many aren't able to do that.
Right.
Amen.
And I think even going back to the municipalities, and Carolyn and I follow that quite a bit too, they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
For the longest time, the permitting issues and the FEMA regulations, and they were at a loss, and it just got so frustrating for so many people.
But there were several functions hosted though within the community
Mhm.
to kind of help
Good.
people through it.
Right.
And everyone
I
just
love that.
pulled together, and I saw a lot of churches get involved in helping people that
That's
couldn't
right.
clear out their houses, and just a lot of people stepped up and volunteered their time to help others.
Great.
But as you said, even in this neighborhood, though, you see people helping people all the time. I mean, there were people in other people's houses tearing drywall out, and
Yes.
helping carry their furniture out to the street, and whatever it took. It's just a community that comes together. We've seen it before, but never to this extent. Obviously, we all felt like we're all in this together, and we'll get through it together.
And I think everyone still has that same thought process, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There were stickers made, Mad Beach Strong, and
Yes.
there was a big sand sculpture made that said, we
Yes.
got
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So you felt that everywhere you went.
Because I'm sure having to go through this in your mind and share is really hard. So
We
Well,
cry, but
We've had a million conversations though with different people. Like I was just in Dallas last week with a bunch of coworkers, and none of them have really heard an update. They knew that I went through this, but a lot of them thought we were already back in our house. So I got to relive the whole story 50 times probably over a 3-day period.
And so when Carolyn and I go out to these houses, and at the very beginning we were 2 and 3 a day, and we would always just tell the owners of the property, just give yourself some time. Don't make a rash decision. Now, we have this thing that we say between us, that everyone has a threshold of pain. And when they have reached that threshold of pain, they will make that decision of what they want to do. And we, for instance, we were in St. Pete Beach, and we put a listing up, and those sellers were ready. It was deemed a tear down, right?
yeah.
And it's 60 by 110 or 120 lot, and we ended up selling that lot for $856,250 for the lot. For those particular sellers, because of where they were at in their life, that worked for them.
Yeah.
We've got another property that we just listed, and it's remediated, and the drywall's cut up, and that's over in Pasadena. That's on the water. We've got that listed for $888, and that's considered, fixable for someone that wants to tackle that project. So everybody is different, and I think it's really interesting to see where these guys are going. It's funny because Carolyn and I, we knew we wanted to interview you two. We knew that we wanted to share with the hurricane, but there's this fine line of how are you going to sell paradise if you bring this back up, right?
It's a good time to mention that you're real estate agents.
Okay.
By the way.
So, by the way, we decided that we wanted to film this because I don't think people understand that these folks are not back in their houses yet.
Right. Yeah, there's so much unknown, and even for me, I haven't been driving through this area, and so it's just like it's a shock. But it is paradise, and so that's what we go back to: is why do we want to live here?
Because it is paradise.
It's so beautiful.
It's beautiful, and if you're a boater and you've got the pool out back, and it's a great place. Like Brian was saying, it's your community, and you really are a community here, right?
Yeah, and it's this area, especially around Johns Pass, has been it's a fishing village. It's how it was founded, and you'll find so many people like charter captains and people that work out of Hubbard's Marina. They all live in this area, so even though they're they have different roles and different positions, they were impacted just like we were. So you meet somebody every day, that's kind of living this, but when you leave this area, you're right. No one's talking about this.
No one's talking about it.
No.
It was over, 4 months ago for everyone outside of this area, but we're still living it today. It will be for another 7 or 8 months.
Well,
at
for
least.
you guys, longer because you're going to be building, and I'm sure you can't get done what you need to get done, and not to, sadden you anymore.
He has very high hopes that we're
does.
going to be back in within 7 or 8 months. But
My goal
more
is
realistic
Is it? Your
a
goal is
year,
Christmas?
year and a half.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You're probably saying.
Yeah,
Christmas,
we're
I'd
looking
like
at
to
like
be
a
here.
year and a half.
Yeah.
That's
we're
fun.
6 months in though, so don't forget that.
Well,
too.
Right.
Yeah, but that doesn't count.
Did you start your permitting process yet?
No, we're actually
Okay.
still in design with the architects.
Okay.
So, yeah, we just got our first set of initial drawings back on Friday, and then went in on Monday and are fine-tuning everything. So,
Nice.
pretty excited about it.
Nice.
You should be. That's exciting. All right, you guys. So let's continue on this journey together with this family. We're going to go through this entire process. So follow us, like, subscribe, comments.
There you go again. Surprise.
I know.
Subscribe. We can't do it again.
Not-
We are so grateful to you all.
Yes,
And
thank
when the house comes down, we'll videotape that. When the house goes up, we'll be, we'll follow you all the way around until we get to the housewarming party.
That's it. That's right.
Shall we cheers?
Yes.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Love
guys.
you guys.